What's up, guys? Ben Hustle's coming at you with another trading video. Today I'm going to be going over how you can use the standard deviation channels to identify good support levels to get in reversals or strong bounce trades. So for the first example, I'm just going to be putting up stock here. It's called TRIT. This stock, I believe it's some sort of merger. Looks like it was just trading around like $10 for a while. Anyway, so these standard deviation channels, it's a study in Thinkorswim. Basically, just go to studies, you edit studies, and then you can add on studies here. You just search up standard deviation channel. For the first one, as you see here, you're gonna adjust it. It's gonna come, it's gonna say 2.0. You're just gonna change it to 1.0. And then the other one you leave as is. So it'll come up looking something like this with 6 lines. And I colored them so I know different levels. Obviously the ones on the top are going to be selling, so resistance, and the ones on the lower part of the screen are going to be your support. So in particular, we're going to be looking at this day right here, in which it made this move from around around $11, let's say, to 8. And the reason why that's so important, and what I was really looking at, was that it had the bounce all the way to that bounce all the way up to back where it was before. So it literally had it went down 50% and leave it, went up the whole way back. So yeah, it went up 100% on the way back up. So I knew that level was a really strong support area, and it came right back down to it. So knowing that, I mapped it out, and it was below the bottom standard deviation, which means that it's the buy area where buyers are going to be interested, just the buy cycle of things, and where up there, that's the sell cycle of things. So when you go to that day, let's just use the minute chart, because that'll best display what was minute by minute, of course. That was within like 30 days. So I'm just gonna a cursor so we can move it around. I can get to that day. Hold on a second. So that day, as I mentioned, it had a down day coming from, it was around $11 and closed the day around 8, and it came on my sell-off scanner. I have a sell-off scanner, so I can stay in tune with stocks that are getting a little bit too oversold and possibly an overreaction sell-off. So we actually did have some support come in around 10, or what was that? It was around $9, and that didn't hold well. I wasn't really watching it then either because it wasn't really down too much. And it actually made a bear flag. Like, let's say I was watching it, I would have noticed that it wasn't really strong support, and it created a bear flag. It broke down, and what you can also take from it to know that buyers were coming in after, when it was down here, was that we saw a huge increase in buying right when I got to the support. You could see a lot of volume came in, and we had this bullish candle right there. That one, it overwhelmed the previous selling candle, so that's just bullish in itself. And it came right up from that support level, and then of course it broke the whole dollar level of $8 and went straight up to 8, almost 8.20 in one candle. It didn't really pull back, so that's telling you that buyers are definitely interested. And as I mentioned before, when it came to the support, it went all the way back up to what was it, like $16. So it literally went up 100%. So you can expect something like a 10-20% bounce, if not more. This actually did have some bad news. It was like a hit piece on the stock from some short sellers. So another bullish thing you want to take into consideration when looking at for these bounce trades is there some sort of RSI divergence? And there actually was. You could see here below on that RSI, on the RSI here was like 10. Over here it was like 20, and the low was lower. So that right off the bat tells you buying coming in the stock. And then I also noticed after hours, of course, that we had a shoulder here, we had a head here, we had a shoulders here. So an inverted head and shoulders was forming. We had the neckline, something along the lines of that. And then of course I held it because I knew that it'd probably be a good swing trade, and the play continued Monday, and it gapped up, and they actually put out some good news about a stock buyback program. So it's like the company almost kind of like looked at the chart and they were like, okay, um, can we capitalize off of the stock chart looking bullish? So it wasn't bullish then, of course, but once it made the inverted head and shoulders, it was. So it broke out to the upside, and yeah, it was a pretty good trade overall from $8 up to where you could have sold at, as much as 35%, which is absolutely beautiful. So anyway, that's that stock. There was another stock yesterday, IRT. Um, so I looked at the long-term chart, of course, first. That's what you want to look down to that standard deviation level or below it. And you could see it got right down to this support level and started reversing. And of course, there was good earnings there, so it gapped up that day in August. And usually, when they come back down close to that level where it broke out from, it won't even go through first. It'll usually bounce. So all those things put together pretty much made it to where when you go to the intraday chart, right at that level, right at those levels, I should say, we had like a really good bounce. Kind of came back down, consolidated, and kind of made like a from what I could see here, it made an inverted head and shoulders, just not as clean as it could have been, but it definitely was because we have a shoulder here, we have a head right there, and then kind of coming up, and then the shoulder is like after hours, and then the neckline, of course, is like this. And so it most likely will go like almost up to where it was before, if not back up exactly where it was before. And so yeah, so you can see, I mean, right along the lines of like around that area, because I saw it come back down into that consolidation area. Buying volume was still strong, and yeah, it was making a form like a inverted head and shoulders formation. I didn't really know for sure, but I knew most likely it was because we had this huge bounce here. It came back down, started creating like the head. So I was like, okay, it's most likely going to do that. And like I say, we had the buying volume stay pretty strong and overwhelming the selling pressure, of course. So that's that. I'm still holding it over the weekend. We also have another stock that fell yesterday, EHTH, well, like right at the end of the day, right before close. Now this one isn't as good of a setup because it didn't get all the way down to that the level that you wanted to get down to, which would be the first standard deviation or the second. But when you switch it over to the longer term chart, the 2 year, it actually came right down to it, if not down. And then if you go to the weekly chart, in the weekly chart, it had to a very significant level, right here at $49, 48.50. So knowing those things, you can definitely expect to bounce. And then of course, on the weekly chart, it's almost down to that bottom standard deviation level. So with this stock, intraday, I was really looking for it to hit. It was periodic. There was buying, but it wasn't really like it hit like a low at at a support level, consolidation and consolidated, and then started grinding up. Like no, this continued making lower lows, so I knew it was most likely going to hit a lower support. And then of course we had it get right to there, or right to that support level, and a lot of volume started coming. And I was watching the tape, and I was watching like each individual order, kind of seeing like if there was major buys going through, and there definitely was. So I could tell that the inflow and outflow was definitely off, and this was a good support area. And you can't really see from this chart, but there was some bullish candles in the by that support area. Um, let's go to there real quick. So yeah, you could see like it was consolidating. It was consolidating at that area for like 30 minutes, and and then uh, and then yeah, it was pretty much getting consolidated, bought up, and I could tell that most likely this area, this general area, would be a good buy point. And we had it kind of grind up a little bit after hours, but it wasn't really that much. And it kind of rolled over, but made a double bottom. So what I think is it'll break this resistance at 49.50. The next major resistance is up towards I think it's about like 52. So anyway, I just really wanted to make this video to kind of explain this, and thank you.